Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're doing something a little different. Instead of one big report, we've pulled together this, well, fascinating mix of headlines, history, even some surprising facts, all from July 5th, 2025. We're focusing mainly on Nigeria, but you'll see how it connects globally. So our mission today is to unpack all this, find the key insights, and, see what these different pieces tell us about what's happening right now.
Exactly. And it shows how even just a day's worth of news, if you look closely, can reveal these deeper patterns. It's kind of a shortcut to really understanding the connections, how local events and global forces actually link up.
Okay, let's begin. Let's unpack some of these big economic shifts and infrastructure developments in Nigeria first. The really big news that jumps out. Nigerian banks finally resuming international transactions on Naira cards. After 3 years.
3 whole years. Yeah, just think about the immediate difference that makes for people, for businesses.
Huge. And then we've got DCON, that's the Defense Industries Corporation of Nigeria, signing a deal with a Saudi firm to produce security drones and satellites right there in Nigeria.
That's significant. Building local capacity.
Definitely. And Enugu Air operations are officially ticking off, new airline activity. Plus, NNPC and First EMP, they hit a major safety milestone in the oil sector. Always crucial.
Very important for that industry, yes.
And speaking of stability, Zenith Bank, still Nigeria's top tier 1 bank. That makes it 16 years running.
16 years. That says a lot about financial resilience, doesn't it? Especially in such a dynamic economy.
It really does. So looking at these, the Naira card resumption, obviously, that's direct relief for, well, everyone. Smoother trade, easier personal stuff.
Right. But when you put it alongside the DICON deal, the drone and satellite production, you start to see a strategy, perhaps. A push for, more self-reliance, controlling critical tech supply chains.
That makes sense. A proactive move.
Yeah. And the energy sector milestone, too, it points towards better operations, better safety. It's foundational for growth. So these aren't just random good news items. They sort of paint a picture of strengthening the core.
That focus on foundational pillars, as you say, it brings us straight to governance and public services, which is where things get complicated. We've got this whole Natasha saga. It's been quite the roller coaster, legally and politically.
The back and forth.
Right. So first, a court orders the Senate to recall her after suspension. Then the Senate pushes back, sets conditions for her return. Then another court steps in, affirms the Senate can discipline members, but finds Natasha guilty of contempt anyway, with a hefty fine.
An N5 million fine, yeah. It's really a fascinating case study, isn't it? It shows that balance of power, judiciary versus legislature, playing out in real time, not just textbook theory.
Exactly, testing the boundaries.
And how those boundaries get negotiated. The contempt charge at the end, it really highlights the complexities around accountability within the system. It makes you think about how these power dynamics work on the ground.
And still on governance, but zooming into the local level. These calls for state creation, they seem to be getting louder again. Lagos is pushing again for its 37 LCDAs, the local council development areas, to be listed as proper local governments. Governor Sanwo-Olu is vocal about it.
Right, that's been a long-running issue in Lagos.
And then broader scale, the Southwest region demanding 5 more states. Plus, you have traditional rulers from Osun and Kwara and 18 local government areas all making the case for a new Igbamina state to the Senate committee.
This isn't new, this kind of agitation. It really taps into fundamental questions in Nigeria about decentralization, resource allocation, regional identity. Does creating more states or local governments bring power closer? Is it about fairer resource sharing or identity?
It's that constant tension within the federal structure, seeking more local control.
A continuous push and pull, exactly, reflecting that desire for maybe more localized self-determination.
But, okay, despite these big political moves, we're also seeing serious signs of strain in the public sector. Still making headlines. Doctors in Lagos rejecting the federal pay structure, warning of a crisis.
Which is deeply concerning.
Yeah, and doctors reportedly leaving Eliotech Teaching Hospital in large numbers. That impacts healthcare access directly. Meanwhile, teachers in the FCT, the Capital Territory, refusing to end their strike until the money actually hits their accounts.
Until they get the alert, right. Trust issues there.
Seems like it. And separately, LASU, Lagos State University, dismissed 2 lecturers, financial misconduct cited there, internal challenges too.
These disputes, these departures, especially in health and education, they have such direct consequences for ordinary citizens. When skilled professionals feel let down, it's not just their problem, it weakens the whole system. Quality, access, It erodes trust.
Yeah, absolutely. And beyond services, our sources flag environmental and security issues too. There's a report saying climate change is eroding 84% of Lagos's coastline. That's staggering.
84%. It's not abstract anymore. It's physically reshaping the city.
And flood alerts issued in 3 areas in Oyo State. On the health side, 86 dengue fever cases confirmed in Edo amid multiple outbreaks.
Another immediate public health challenge.
And security. Troops found unexploded bombs under a bridge in Borno. Leftovers from conflict, presumably. The NSCBC arrested 16 people, suspected vandals, illegal miners, and Ninaipa Coast, the Postal Service, reports couriers being used to transport drugs and firearms, exploiting the system.
It paints such a vivid picture of daily realities, doesn't it? And those long-term sustainability challenges. Climate change hitting the coast, disease outbreaks, old dangers like bombs resurfacing, new criminal methods. It's a complex web communities are navigating.
So taking all that, what does it mean for Nigeria on the world stage? Let's look at those global interactions. We see Nigeria and St. Lucia signing a technical cooperation agreement, building ties.
Diplomatic outreach, sharing expertise. Good to see.
And the World Bank has a new country director for Nigeria, Matthew Vergas. Signals ongoing partnership there.
Right. Both bilateral engagement with St. Lucia and multilateral with the World Bank. It shows Nigeria is still actively looking outward, seeking partnerships for development.
But the global connections aren't always positive, are they? There's news of the U.S. indicting a Nigerian in a massive healthcare fraud case. $14 billion mentioned.
$14 billion, a huge figure.
And separately, 8 Chinese nationals jailed in Nigeria for cyberterrorism.
These cases, though unfortunate, really hammer home how globalized crime is now. Fraud, cybercrime. They don't respect borders. The economic impact is massive, and it really underlines why international cooperation on law enforcement and cybersecurity is just essential.
True. But then amidst all that, you get these amazing human stories, like the Nigerian man riding a bicycle from Nigeria all the way to the USA.
Incredible story, isn't it? Just sheer determination.
There really is. A reminder of that individual human spirit kind of cuts through all the big headlines.
Exactly. It shows that drive to achieve something extraordinary, connecting places and people in a totally different way.
And just quickly, for wider context on July 5th, elsewhere, news that Trump signed a major U.S. tax and spending bill. Policy shifts there. Tragedy in Niger Republic, 10 soldiers killed in jihadist attacks. Regional security issues ongoing. And on a sad personal note, footballer Diogo Jota and his brother being laid to rest in Portugal.
Yeah, those snippets just remind us Nigeria is part of this bigger, constantly moving world. Events elsewhere, whether it's U.S. policy, regional security, or even personal stories catching global attention, they all form part of that interconnected global picture.
Okay, now for something completely different, some surprising facts and a look back at history from this date. Did you know the British pound sterling is the oldest currency still in use? Introduced way back over 1,200 years ago, around 775 AD.
Over 12 centuries. It makes you think about the longevity of institutions, doesn't it? Like currency and the abstract value we assign.
Wild. And here's a science one. Heating a magnet makes it lose its magnetism.
Huh. A good reminder that the physical laws governing things aren't always intuitive, but they're constant.
Right. Now, today in history, for July 5th, 1984. This one's quite something. Former Nigerian Transport Minister Umaru Dikko, found in London, drugged. Inside a crate marked diplomatic baggage, heading for Lagos.
The Crete incident, yes. An incredible story.
The Buhari regime at the time wanted him back to face corruption charges. What a dramatic international episode.
It really echoes themes we still grapple with today, doesn't it? Corruption, international justice, political intrigue, how far states might go. A very bold, very controversial attempt at cross-border enforcement, you could say.
Definitely controversial. And then going further back, July 5th, 1811, Venezuela declares independence from Spain, led by Francisco de Miranda, kicked off a war that led to full independence a decade later.
And that connects to that wider historical sweep, the global story of struggles for self-determination, breaking away from colonial powers. These historical moments, both the dramatic Dikko affair and the foundational Venezuelan independence, they really help frame the forces that shape nations over time.
Wow. We've covered a lot of ground today. Quite a rich mix. From that complex dance between courts and parliament in Nigeria, to one man's incredible bike ride, to, well, ministers and crates. It really shows how digging into even one day's seemingly scattered news can reveal these deeper insights, connecting to big themes like governance, resilience, human spirit.
It really does. Understanding these different nuggets, whether current news or history, helps build that fuller picture. It keeps reminding us how interconnected everything is, how much you can find in just a snapshot of daily information.
So here's something to think about as you go through your day. How do these snippets, these stories from just one nation, reflect struggles and triumphs we see everywhere? And maybe more importantly, what connections will you start to spot in the news you encounter now that you know how to look for them?